Howdy, how's everybody doing tonight? Hope everybody's good with everything going on with COVID-19 and everything going on. Hope everybody's staying safe in their house. Um, I've been thinking for the past few days about what I was going to talk about tonight. I know that the Skywalker saga ended with episode 9 and everything's said and done. I've heard the rumors that the next movie they're going to do focuses on the High Republic era, which is about 400 years before Skywalker saga started. And I can understand that they want to go that era because Skywalker saga's done. But what I was hoping, and who knows, they may still do it, and I'd like to get some people's thought on this, see what everybody thinks about this, is with the Mandolorian TV series being as successful as it is, I don't know about anybody else, but when I get into anything like Star Wars, sports in general, like football, baseball, basketball, anything like that, I don't like just to go from that point on. I like to know the history of it and where it started and how it got to be and everything like that. Well, of course, I love the movies, but about 2 or 3 years ago, I started collecting books and I know the expanded universe is no longer canon and all that, and we'll get into why. I'll get into that later, what I really think about that. I think it should be canon, but everybody's entitled to their own opinion, what they think and everything like that, but personally, I think it would make it better if some of this was made canon. But going back to that, one of my favorites is Darth Revan, because this is where we really get introduced into the Mandalorians and everything like that, or at least I did. And I like Darth Revan as a character. I mean, I wish they would make him canon, and I wish they would do a movie on him. I know a lot of people would like to see it. But, you got to think, for a guy that was a Jedi who they fought the Mandalorians and everything like that, and then he ended up turning to the dark side because of how they were treating the Mandalore people. And then the Jedi that ends up capturing Darth Revan is who ends up being his future wife. And then in this whole book, it is the one that he can't remember. He starts having nightmares and he can't remember things about himself, and it bothers him. And then he and his friend go on this journey to try and replace his memory and everything like that. Well, as you go along and he finds his mask, and that brings back his memories and everything like that, is where you start to learn about the Mandalore people and who they are and what they stand for and certain things like that. So, with the success of the TV show, and obviously they're bringing back season 2, and they're going to have more and more go on. And I know that there's a possibility, no saying they are, but there's a possibility of an appearance by Boba Fett or something like that, because from what I understand, and of course things change, they can change plot lines and everything like that in a heartbeat. But when he fell into the Sarlacc in episode 6, he didn't die, supposedly. So there, with Mandalorian TV show set after Return of the Jedi, they could explain how he survived that and everything. But like I said, with that coming out, I wish they would go back and do a movie about the beginning of the Mandalore people, how it got to be. And I wish with these next 2-3 movies that they do, hopefully one of them will be about Darth Revan, because that way I think everybody in the Star Wars universe would like it. I know I would. And, personally, I would like to see the expanded universe made canon again, because most of these books fill plot holes between the movies. It makes sense, and also it helps to learn the history of where it all started, why it all started, and the storyline between the Sith and the Jedi. And now some of them can get a little exaggerated, but you know, I have a few of them here. Could be a little obsessive about it, but you know, hey, I'm still about 240 short of having all of them, because there's 160 expanded universe books, and there's a total of 240 that goes between certain books. So, because there's like 16 of the Jedi Apprentice books, there's like 16 on Luke Skywalker, there's like 16 on Boba Fett, and things like that. But I got a long ways to go to complete my collection. But anyways, you know, I'd like to get y'all's feedback on what you think. Do you think, with the success of the Mandalorian TV show and all like that it would be a good idea for Disney and Lucas to go back and do the history of the Mandalorian and include Darth Revan in it? I mean, once again, that means it'd make canon. But I think it'd be very interesting. And if you read the book, everybody talks about what a big bad guy Palpatine is, and he is. And he survived a fall through the Death Star and getting blown up in the Death Star. But Darth Nihilus was one of the most dangerous guys, because from what I read in the book, he could look at a planet and blow it up. So he didn't need the Death Star. He didn't need the Final Order ships to do it. He could do it just by his dark side abilities. And they talk about the Sith world, and even if you go back to Darth Bane, they talk about the Sith world as being Korriban. Well, if you go into the Darth Revan book, the Sith world was always drumming casts. And that's where the school was, that's where everything, the biggest amount of dark side power. And outside of the Darth Revan book, you don't really hear about it anymore. And I think it would be interesting to see if they would do it and put drumming casts in. Where would they make that planet? You know, what would it make it look like? Could they go in the world to make that possible? But, you know, I think that would be interesting, because it'd be bringing, like I say, the beginning of the Mandalore, how they got to be, what their customs are, and how they coincide with the Jedi and with the Sith. Especially bringing in Darth Revan, I think it'd be a interesting movie. And who knows? I know they said they're not going to do the trilogy format anymore. They may just do a movie here, a movie there. Some may be two in a run, but they're not going to do a trilogy format, which is fine. But you know, we'll see. I think now. I know they're doing one in 2022, and then they're going to do one in 2024, and then one in 2026. What I would like to see them do is turn around and do Darth Revan and the Mandalore in 2022. Like I say, especially with the success of the TV show, and it help explain everything. Because many people just associate the Mandalore with Bubba Fett and Jango Fett and don't understand where it comes from. So I would like to see where their take on that. And then if they're not going to do a trilogy anymore, turn around and take those last two movies. And since Yoda in the end of The Phantom Menace brings up the rule of two, there's always two. One master, one apprentice. No more, no less, and he knows about Darth Bane's rule. So let's go ahead and do one or two movies on Bane and how he became and everything like that, and see where Disney and Star Wars takes it. But that's what I'd like to see. And I'd like to get y'all's comments and everything on that. And if you would, and you like what you're hearing and have questions, if there's any topics y'all want me to talk about or something you'd want me to do a video on, please let me know. Yeah, and like and subscribe if you would, please. Y'all have a great evening. Y'all stay safe.